Israel says it's carried out 3 waves of airstrikes on Iranian military targets, hitting missile manufacturing facilities. Iran says the attacks were across 3 provinces, but insists damage has been limited. Blasts have also been reported in the city of Karaj and the Syrian capital, Damascus. Israel had been planning a response to the ballistic missile barrage fired from Iran on the 1st of October, which was Tehran's second direct attack on Israel in 6 months. Well, Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran is live in Jerusalem now. Matt, what's the latest?
Nick, we know that Israel's campaign has now finished, at least for the time being. 3 waves of strikes across Iran targeting military assets. Now, the specific targets of these attacks were missile manufacturing facilities, factories which Israel says were responsible for creating the missiles, which Iran then launched against Israel. That barrage of more than 180 missiles back at the beginning of October, and another attack a couple of months prior in April. Israel insisting that these were precise and targeted attacks that were designed to ensure that the military was hit, but that the Iranian population was not. But we, of course, are waiting to see what the full extent of that damage and the full extent of any casualties may well be. Iran is saying that its air defence systems were activated while these strikes were ongoing, that it was indeed trying to shoot some of these missiles out of the sky. Again, whether or not that has been successful remains to be seen. It is still early here in the Middle East, and the full scale of that will take some time to be seen. Indeed, Iran, the way in which it controls its media, we may not get much of a sense as to how that has played out until much further down the track. But Iran is saying that the strikes were carried out across 3 provinces, including the capital province around the city of Tehran. But it is saying that any damage was quite limited. We heard a short time ago from the Israeli Defense Force spokesperson Daniel Hagari. He outlined what he argued was the scale of these attacks, and he has said that if Iran was then to counter this, was then to launch further attacks against Israel as a result of this, then it is something that they need to be very wary of.
If the regime in Iran were to make the mistake of beginning a new round of escalation, we will be obligated to respond. Our message is clear. All those who threaten the state of Israel and seek to drag the region into wider escalation will pay a heavy price. We demonstrated today that we have both the capability and the resolve to act decisively.
And Matthew Doran, what's the United States had to say about these strikes?
Well, Nick, in the last hour, we have been briefed by a senior Biden administration official who says that the United States was not involved in these strikes, but it did get briefings from the Israeli government about it. Indeed, the US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was on the phone to his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, getting a rundown of what was happening. And the United States is aware of what was targeted, but it is leaving further discussion and further explanation as to exactly the nature of these strikes to the Israeli government. What we have heard, though, from this Biden administration official is that the US believes that these strikes were targeted, that they were extensive, and that as far as the United States is to be involved, it believes this should be the end of the fire between Israel and Iran. Again, whether or not either country abide by those sort of comments remains to be seen. You'd have to say that given how this has played out over the course of the last couple of weeks and months, that may not be the case. But the Biden administration saying that Iran will have to face consequences if it retaliates for this retaliation, and it has been made fully aware of the US's position there.
And how do you think this will play into the broader Middle East conflict?
Well, Nick, this is a very precarious moment in this conflict. Not only is Iran and Israel, this situation developing between those two countries, Israel continues its war in Gaza, now stretching into its second year, even after the death of the Hamas leader, the killing of the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in the last week or so. Israel shows little sign of pulling back in Gaza. It is also continuing its offensives in the north, targeting the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah there, also striking into the Lebanese capital of Beirut. A dramatic escalation in its military actions in Lebanon as well. We know that there is clear concern that this area, this Middle East region, could be drawn into a broader conflict, and that is why you've seen the United States do things such as pre-position a THAAD anti-missile defence system here in Israel, along with 100 troops to operate that system to try to patch some of the gaps that exist within Israel's air defence systems there. We also know that the United States has moved some of its F-16 fighter jets to this region, jets which are normally based in Europe. So there is clearly a lot of concern that this is a pressure cooker situation, Nick, and that any moment now, if there is some sort of miscalculation or indeed a further escalation, that a broader conflict could be about to erupt.
OK, Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran in Jerusalem, thanks for that update.